Welcome back to ABV TV. Today we'll be drinking our first American beer, Sierra Nevada Pale Ale. But not the normal Pale Ale. This is the Draught style Pale Ale. I'll tell you why that's a disappointment in a moment. Welcome back to the channel. And as I said at the top, our first American beer on the channel. So at some point I was going to delve into some American craft beers, and at some point I was going to delve into Sierra Nevada, because Sierra Nevada is the gateway craft beer for so many people. It was my gateway craft beer, and still to this day the Pale Ale is still one of my favorite beers. There's something special about that beer. It's just really good. So a little while ago, let's say last week, I don't remember, at Bottle Shop, wanted to grab some beer. I saw the classic Sierra Nevada green can and just went, hell yeah, I'm gonna get myself some Pale Ale. Grabbed the 4-pack, brought him home, put him in the fridge, cracked one open that night, did exactly like this, pour him into the glass, going, can't wait. How good's Pale Ale, especially Sierra Nevada. I haven't had one in ages. Looking at the color, going, oh, that beautiful golden orange color, nice white head, cascade, hop aroma already coming through. I was thinking this is going to be beautiful. Then I took a sip and then I realized something was off, something was different. And it's because this is the Draught style. What's the difference, you might ask? Well, the Draught style is a little less in ABV, it's a little bit lighter. It's a little bit lighter in malt profile, I think a little bit lighter in hoppiness as well. So basically, it's like a watered down version of the Pale Ale. Now, I say that I'm disappointed because when you're expecting one thing and you finish up with something different, you're going to be naturally disappointed. Look, I still love Sierra Nevada and I love all their range. This is probably at the bottom of the pile though, unfortunately. And I'm not really sure why they put it in the exact same coloured can as the Pale Ale. The Pale Ale, I know that's also in bottles, disregard that fact. When it is in the can, it's in this green can. The only difference is this little bit of writing here. Surely they could have done something different with that. Anyway, rant over. The beer still looks like the Pale Ale. And as I said, even like smelling it, I still get that cascade hop aroma coming through. Probably not as much as I would in the normal Pale Ale. I'll drink it, I'll tell you why it's completely different. Because that bitterness isn't there like it is in the Pale Ale. So what made Sierra Nevada Pale Ale, what makes Sierra Nevada Pale Ale such a really good beer is, as a Pale Ale, it's quite a balance between the hops, which has a little, the cascade hops, and the malt bill, which has a little bit of caramel in it to give it the color, and also a little bit more flavor and a bit more sweetness to it. So it's a nice mixture of sweetness and bitterness. And I kind of feel from there, not only was the American Pale Ale style defined, but it also led way to the American style IPA, especially the West Coast style IPA, which again was very hop driven in flavor and bitterness. As I said at the top, it was a gateway beer for me in terms of craft beer. There was two. There was Sierra Nevada's Pale Ale and Stone & Wood's Pacific Ale, which I should actually do a review of that as well and get all nostalgic, because I haven't had that for a while either. Hopefully they haven't fucking changed that. But yeah, so Sierra Nevada Pale Ale was a gateway beer for me. I grew up on Tooheys New as a, let's say, 18-year-old. Then sort of moved into Tooheys Extra Dry. I drank way too much of that. Then I had Frank convert me into being a regular Cooper's drinker and smashed a shit ton of Cooper's Green. Should review one of those one day too. And then I started to experiment a lot more in terms of the different beers that I would drink. I always had that a little bit, so whenever there was something in the bottle shop that I'd never tried before, I would get a 6-pack of. That's how I kind of discovered things like the James Squire range, even like back when I was 18, 19, 20, the only sort of import beer you could get was like Budweiser, and that was like $20 for a 6-pack, and Stella Artois, Heineken was a little bit more mainstream, same as Guinness, but yeah, like those, Corona was a bit more sort of mainstream, that was more regularly available, but we were starting to get more and more sort of big beer imported in from around the world, and then that started to spark my interest in trying different beers and whatever was available in my local bottle I would usually get if I wanted to try something different. But my stock standards were, back in the day, Extra Dry, Cooper's Green. Discovered Sierra Nevada Pale Ale, tried it, fucking loved it, thought it was amazing, and then that and Stone and Wood led me down the path of craft beer. I have a look back, and I'm grateful for that, because I've had a lot of really, really good beers. I will continue to find and have plenty more great beers moving along. It sort of made me appreciate beer as more than just a drink. That beer could be seen in the same light as good whiskey and good wine. I think I might have mentioned jokingly, but it's not a joke, I am studying to be a Cicerone. So that's how much I sort of appreciate sort of beer. And a Cicerone is basically a sommelier of beer, and that's what I'm sort of heading down towards, that path. So I appreciate now really good beer. I now understand a lot more about the beer styles. I obviously don't convey that very well when talking to you guys here, but fuck, I try. So back to this. It is not the same as the Pale Ale. As I said, it is a little bit lighter in body. It's not as, doesn't have that hop bitterness as the Pale Ale normally does. There's a little bit there, but I feel like this beer is probably masked more by adjuncts added to it. And an adjunct is sugars, basically, so whether that's dextrose, corn sugar, or just using dry malt in there, because it's got a sweetness to it which is a bit more than the regular Pale Ale from Sierra Nevada. It's not as hoppy. I don't enjoy it as much. I had the good fortune back 2016, I think it was, of actually going to the brewery in Chico, California, which is about 2.5 hours outside of San Francisco. Chico is this very small town. It's probably the main source of employment might just be the Sierra Nevada brewery, because it's huge and it kind of almost dominates the town, a little bit like how Jack Daniels dominates the little town it's in Tennessee, which I've also been to. I can't remember the name of the town. It's on the bottle. Go look it up yourselves. And I loved it. Like we did the whole brewery tour, so we saw all the cans being packaged up. Went through obviously all their the brewing process that they go through. Saw all the the mash tuns and the fermenters and the tanks, the room where they keep all the hops and fresh whole cone hops, which is amazing. And then went through the tasting room, tasted a whole bunch of beers, then went across to the restaurant and had, I think it was lunch, and a whole bunch of their beers as well. And one of the beers that I tried, I got a couple of different tasting paddles, or flights, what they call them. And one of it was the draft style of the pale ale. And even then, I wasn't a big fan. And now, 5 years later, still not a massive fan. It's just a little disappointing, which is sad, because it's sad because I was really hoping for the pale ale, and it's also sad because it's not the best beer for Sierra Nevada, and probably not really doing justice to the guys by hanging shit on this beer. But maybe we're going to start at the bottom, and then we can work our way through Sierra Nevada beers that are currently available on the regular, because they make some cracking beers. I still think their Torpedo IPA is probably one of the better IPAs that really represent that West Coast style. The hazy thing, or hazy little thing, or the different variations of that is a cracking beer. I also think their stout and porter are criminally underrated and are fantastic beers. And then any of their limited release beers, if you get a chance. The Celebration Ale is a cracking beer. One beer that they stopped making, which still annoys me to this day, is the Fireside Rye IPA. That thing was fucking magnificent. That was such a good beer. I really wish they brought that back. It's so good. Yeah, I can go on and on and on about all the different Sierra Nevada beers, but I'll probably have another half a dozen videos down the track in regards to it, and hopefully I will actually get the proper pale ale, and I can be a little bit more positive about it, because this is not good. But I'll keep drinking it though, because it's beer. So Sierra Nevada Pale Ale, draft style, avoid. Pale ale, fucking go get it. Simple as that.